Chris goes on unmolested. He was spawned a creature of terror. His role is to sow fear and discord among men and murder, yet he is content to stay locked in his cave.
All right, folks, according to YouTube rules, I have to warn you, the following content is not intended for children and is for a mature audience. And I want to welcome to the third episode of A Conversation With on the Vault of Metal, none other than guitar player extraordinaire, a friend I've known for almost 16 years, Mr. Paul Laplaca. How's it going, brother?
Good, Raven. How you doing?
Fantastic. Now that we got all those blasted technical difficulties out of the way.
Let's hope.
Hey, now, let's not jinx ourselves that
Right?
much.
Don't shoot me in the foot.
Hey, you never know, man. I don't own guns yet. But, needless to say, we were doing this earlier, folks. It didn't work, so we started again, had some trouble. So I'm going to start from the top again. Let's start how Paul Laplaca came to be as a musician.
All right. I started playing back in Jamestown, New York, probably junior high school with an acoustic guitar. Picked up an electric a couple years later. Jamestown's well known as the home of the 10,000 Maniacs. I actually had the guitar player from that band as a substitute teacher, so I got to open for them in one of their early gigs in town there. And then I moved to Fredonia for school and Buffalo, New York after that. Played with a bunch of bands in the Buffalo area before moving to New York in '94. The first band I played with in New York in '94 was Von Elmo, who is an underground noise legend. He is one of these guitar players that influenced Devo and Sonic Youth. They just did a movie about him. Really cool documentary. You should check it out. Von Elmo. It's bizarre and out of this world. Literally, he thought he was abducted by aliens, and I believe him.
Well, you played with him, so you know that works.
He's out there. So I worked with him, and after that, I joined my first New York City metal band, October Thorns. So through that band, that's like the nexus and the hub for me, splitting out to all the rest of the things I've ever done. That was the start of it, and it was mostly through Dave Z, our bass player. He's the one who got picked up and went on to bigger and better things, and he brought me along for a couple of them. Dave Z was in Trans-Siberian Orchestra. They discovered him at the Sabotage Convention in '99, and October Thorns was there, and we all played in the talent show, and we swept it. Everybody in the band got, first, second, and third place, vocals, guitar, and drums. And Paul O'Neill and Chris Caffery saw Dave and got him for the first TSO tour and took him along. And then Dave Z got me hooked up with Chris Caffery after the tour that his band, ZO2, played. We were on the road with KISS. So in 2004, we went on the road with KISS and Poison, and I was ZO2's tech, and got to play keyboards on one song. And when we got off the road, he said, hey, Chris Caffery's looking for a keyboard player and a guitar player. So Dave Z got me hooked up into that band. From there, I think I did 2 tours with Chris, 2 or 3 in the States with Doro, Metal Church in Europe, Ripper Owens, Triosphere, a lot of really great, cool bands. Got to play with us on those tours, and we played with them, played with John Olivas Payne, Doro.
That one I'm jealous of.
Yeah. We had a really good time. And then from there, the next thing I got picked up for was Ted Poley's band, who I played with briefly. A couple years there, doing a lot of Swedish tours with Ted. Got off of those tours and had my kid, and things kind of slowed down for me, traveling wise. And I stayed in New York and did, all my work here, did some album production, worked on a couple albums for CC Banana, did a couple tribute albums with him. And about 2 years ago, I played with Carnivore. Mark Piavanetti put Carnivore back together for the Retaliation release anniversary. I think it was the 25-year anniversary. I can't remember how long it was, but we played
something like that.
Yeah, we played Retaliation in its entirety, and I got to play bass and pretend I was Pete Steele. So that was awesome. But then Mark went on, and he got someone who looked a little bit more like Pete to play and sing, and he put Carnivore AD together, which is, unfortunately, I didn't get a part in that band. But right now I'm singing for Spiritual Sickness. I got hooked up through Van Williams from Nevermore and Ghost Ship Octavius. I sent him an audition when they were looking for a bass player about 2 years ago, and he hooked me up with Spiritual Sickness. And we're working on the pre-production for the next album for them. And that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah. So now we can pick it apart. Because I first met you when I saw you at Jack's with Chris Caffery the first time you came through before the Doro tour.
Yes, that was the first tour. I forget who else were we playing with.
I don't remember.
I think we might have been playing with John Oliva in that first tour.
No, it wasn't John, because if I had met John, it would have stuck in my memory as him being my second favorite singer in metal.
Oh, he's amazing.
Oh, man, he's more of a heavyweight than I am in all ways combined.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I love John. If I had met you with John, I would have had pictures framed for that for years. But I don't think it was Ace Frehley, because that was Hydrogen.
Nope.
But it wasn't Doro. Doro was the second time. I know Joey was still with you.
Right.
And I don't remember. It might have been the one that you were doing with you guys on the headline. I think you had guys opening for you.
We might have had a headline gig there. It might have been a one-off that we just traveled. It might not have been a full tour. It
might have been.
If it was Bones, it was Macaluso.
That was who it was, John Macaluso.
All right, yeah, that's
John Macaluso.
Second time we played Jack's. That was a great gig.
Yeah. And I remember that one because Chris had just took over my show for 3 days during the recording of the album.
Very cool.
And then we all hung out, and after that you did the show, and you followed me for a while, which was kind of weird.
Yep.
But you've had a lot of bands that you've worked with and dealt with. You've also done some other stuff with, like, film work. I think it was audio you did for some stand-up, too.
I did something for Kevin Hart for his I'm a Little Big Man special. I didn't even know who he was at the time. I was one of the techs on that show, and my job was running all the communications, the headsets and cables and the different systems, so all the technicians could be on headset. So when he came out and started doing his bit, like, he did 2 different concerts in a row, and that's, most guys do that for the ability to cut and paste and edit things. I got done with it and I went home. And I was like, this guy Kevin Hart's hysterical. He's amazing, and I'd never heard of him before. And now my 10-year-old son thinks he's the funniest guy in the world. He loves all his movies, and he's in the movies with The Rock, so he loves Kevin Hart. And I was like, I did some work for him once, so that was really cool.
It's really great when your 10-year-old goes, Dad, I hate you.
I've gotten a couple like, why didn't you take me with? It's like, you weren't born yet. He's like, he's into KISS, and I'm like, he's like, why didn't you take me with?
You could be a bit of a smart ass and say, well, you were there in spirit.
Yes. So it's been fun introducing him to some of the things, I've had a chance to do, and seeing his eyes light up a little bit. It's pretty cool.
So this is one I've asked you before, and you've actually told on the show. You can go as far into this as you want. The tour with KISS that you did.
Yes.
And, of course, I love your story of meeting Gene Simmons.
Yes.
And the plethora of advice he was given.
Yes. Well, the KISS tour, for anybody in our age range that kind of grew up on 70s KISS when you're really young, like I was 13 when I saw them on the Dynasty tour. So KISS at that point, when you're that young, are really real life superheroes. And me being, I was a Marvel Comics head. I still am. I've got a big collection of Marvel Comics. When KISS came out, I'm like, this is what I would expect to see, a Marvel comic superhero look like in real life. So I was really, really into KISS. I had their comic book. I had the cards and all this nonsense, and big fan. And as well, the guys from Dave Z's band, his brother Paulie and Dave, huge KISS fans. And I knew Dave and Paulie since before the October Thorns days. The first time I saw Symphony X, their first performance in the States, was in New York City, and Dave Z and Paulie Z played in a band called Legend. They opened for Symphony X, and I remembered them. 4 or 5 years later, I get the call from October Thorns, and we eventually got Dave in the band. So it's like this kind of big connected circle of stuff. when when October Thorns split up and Dave went on to do TSO and Joan Jett and all these other bands, Paulie Z and Dave knew how hard I worked, and Paulie always told Dave, and they talked about it, if we ever get a big tour, we have to get Laplaca on board because he will go the distance for us, and they knew they could count on me. So, of course, when I got the call, I'm like, how am I going to get on stage with this? Because, it's a trio. I had to find a way in. So I listened to all their songs because I was all supposed to mix monitors. And I heard one of their songs had all these strings and violins on it. I'm like, are you going to play Dirty Water? And they're like, yeah. I said, okay. So the next rehearsal I came to, I brought a keyboard. And they're like, what's that for? I'm like, don't worry about it. You'll see when we get there. So when they started playing the song Dirty Water, which they'd never played with keyboards live, they actually had Mark Wood from TSO, the guy with the fretted violin, the Vipers. Mm-hmm. He played violin and constructed an orchestra for them. So when I actually played it for them for the first time, they just lost their minds, and they're like, do you want to play this on the tour? I was like, yes. So I weaseled my way on stage for that. I weaseled my way into working for KISS. I made friends with Paul Stanley's guitar tech, and I was helping him put the tape on the cheap guitar that Paul would smash. They would buy a cheaper version of his stage guitar for that, and we would fancy it up to make it look like it was an expensive one with this white tape to make it look like it had binding around the edges and all this nonsense. So I did that. He went home for a couple weeks. His girlfriend had a baby. So I got to sit in and play guitar with the KISS crew during the KISS sound check. Even though it was an empty house, I was on the KISS stage playing Paul Stanley's guitar and singing in his mic and Gene Simmons' mic. So that was a big, no one saw it, but for me it was like, oh my God, it was the best thing in the world.
You're playing KISS for KISS on stage.
But that's the other guys in the crew. They're so weathered and so over it. They could care less. And I was like a kid in a candy store. I'm running around the stage. I'm trying to make the KISS tongue to everybody, do the Gene Simmons, and no one's even looking at me. They think I'm a jerk, but I'm like, I don't care. I'm doing this for 2 weeks. I'm going to enjoy it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the fun. A lot of the people that I've had the pleasure of working with or interviewing. It's more the nerd thing of, Rudolf Schenker wants to have a beer with me because he enjoyed the interview. Yes. That's my nerd rage right there. Yes. And
no, I met him too. He's a really cool, nice guy. And those are the ones you appreciate because so many times you run into people and you're like, oh, why am I a fan of this person?
Oh, yeah, no kidding. As you were listening the day of the infamous hang up on Jeff Tate.
No, I didn't hear. Did I hear that?
The Jeff Tate interview I did where I hung up him live on the air and I made the front page of Blabbermouth?
I did not. Oh, I don't remember that. I'll have to look it up.
It was beginning of 2008. I had Jeff before I had the Scorpions and King Diamond. Oh, and he didn't want to be there. He was treating me like, 2008, we were considered guys in the basement.
Right.
And so he was rude, and I'm good friends with his manager. At the first break, he barely was answering any questions. You know how I've done some painful interviews over the years.
Right.
And so he went to the first break. I tried to engage him in a conversation. He's talking to somebody in the background. He's talking to everyone else. He's ignoring me during the music. We come back again. He's just one-word answers and just treat me like I'm some guy in the basement. Go off the air again. There's a phone call. And he's like, yep. Really? What? Oh. Okay. All right. And we come back. All right. Hey, we're back here on the Vault of Metal this afternoon with Jeff Tate. And I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.
I'm going to look that up.
I have a recording of it on a hard drive. I'll send it to you sometime. Yeah, I was done. And I mean, this was at one point, it was King Diamond, John Oliva, Jeff Tate.
Right.
So I was excited to talk to a vocal influence.
Yeah.
And after that, it was
done. I know.
And I've got Queensryche right there.
Right.
That was the 2007 CD release where we were there. We were VIP'd in because the Vault of Metal did the Brooklyn Metal Fest and all that stuff. So yeah, it's always fun when you meet people who let you down.
Yeah.
But I got to give Rudolph one credit. Rudolph had such a good time. He's the reason I had Michael Schenker.
Really?
Yeah.
That's very cool.
I had Barbara first, their sister. She got Rudolph to do my show. Rudolph immediately hung up with me and called Michael and said, "You got to do the show."
Awesome.
And Michael, to this day, I'm one of the only online guys he'll do an interview with.
Fantastic. I'm a big fan of the Shankers. They're amazing.
Oh, yeah. And since we're talking about musicians and playing, let's talk about you with the hardest guitar player, working guitar player I've met so far, which is Chris Caffery.
Yes.
He did not cut you any slack live.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, I don't know about how many times you had one hand on the neck of the guitar, the other on the keyboard, trying to keep up with him.
Yeah,
especially on the Doro tour.
Yes, you can't blame him for those things. I volunteered to play guitar and keyboards at the same time. That was my. But speaking of Shankner, he has a guy, I forget his name. He does the same thing I do. There's a Michael Shankner's guitar player does the dual duties and plays guitar and keyboards at the same time.
It's impressive work.
I'd like to get in a band with him. I think that would be a pretty cool thing to see us both doing.
Well, I think you're on your way, man. I mean, it may be happening later in life, but you're certainly you've gone quite a bit since we first met.
Yes, yeah, I've had some upward trajectory.
Yes, I've gone the other way, but then again, brave with the devil. I'm always looking down. But when you guys were doing with Caffery, the Doro tour especially, Chris did his set, then he gets up on stage and plays with Doro. Everyone's probably thinking, oh, well, Paul's probably hanging out at the bar. Nope, Paul was running the soundboard.
Yes. That was one of the most fun tours I've ever had. And don't think I wasn't enjoying myself. I would start the set with 3 beers, and by the time we got to the Love Me in Black at the end, I was happy as could be, and I was sailing with that band. It was so much fun.
Oh, you mean the mysterious happy water bottle that Chris had too?
I don't know anything about that.
I took a sip of it and nearly coughed up a lung.
I never drank on stage. I had too many things to do. But once I got to behind the mixing board, where I'm a little bit more on autopilot at that point, I
remember. I brought you a couple refills.
Yeah, it was a good time. Yeah, Doro was it was really fun for me because Chris needed a bass player, and I brought my friend Joey Bones in from Zandel, who I played with, and Zandel was part of the October Thorns community of bands under the Catalyst Promotions banner. So we had Zandel, we had Tommy Vext, and the band Vext, and a couple other really hot bands back then that were all part of Dave Pando's group of bands. Tommy's playing with Bad Wolves now, and Tommy's gone through Divine Heresy and Snot, and he's been busy too.
And he was a journalist for a while.
Was he?
Joey Bones, right?
Bones?
Yeah, wasn't he? Oh no, I thought you were talking about Joey for a minute there. Sorry.
No, Joey's actually a really high-end tech IT guy for the New York Times.
That's what it was. I knew he was working for the New York Times. I thought he was a journalist, but tech makes more sense.
No, he's behind the scenes. He really knows his way around the coding side of things.
I'm glad you brought up Zandel, because that's another thing. I Brooklyn Metal Fest again. Mm-hmm. When I got to see Zandel finally, not just hear your recordings that you sent me, nothing but great guys. Fantastic, underappreciated band for the time.
Yeah. Zandel it's not my cup of tea in terms of power metal. It's really something that I enjoyed it very much when I played with them, but it's not the style for me. It's hard. I don't like the galloping power metal stuff, but man, it was fun. And playing with those guys, Joey Bones and then Joe Fu from October Thorns was in the band when I was with them. We had a really good time, and we played a lot of good shows.
Yeah, if nothing else, you have been on some fantastic albums, and you actually are to blame for the question I had to ask Dave Ellefson once.
Uh-oh.
And I asked him the same question I'm going to ask you. Of all the stuff that you've done, when you're up on stage playing, have you ever written something that you look at the other guys in the band and start thinking, what the hell were we thinking?
That is a great question. No, I really can't think of anything. No. Everything I've ever played and I've written, I'm always pretty happy up there doing it.
Well, that's not what I mean. I mean the technical ability.
Oh, that.
we're talking like Megadeth. When Dave was in Megadeth, like Hangar 18, and they're just going. And,
Oh,
25 years later, you get up there and still play it. Are you going, what the hell were we thinking?
yeah.
This is hard now.
That's a different question. I would say, yeah, vocally for me, the October Thorn stuff, even in that short period of time, I lost some of my high range. So, I think we were in the band for 2 or 3 years, and by the time the band ended, the song Exhausted Minds, that high note at the end, I wasn't able to do it anymore, even in that short period I lost. So I could imagine if the band was still around, how much of that would be just like, oh my God, I can't sing this anymore. I can't do it.
Backup singer.
Yes.
Put a chick off stage. She'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, take a cue from King Diamond on that one. Hey, man, that's why I do radio. I told you I used to do power metal, and then I lost my voice, and
yeah,
I can't do that high note stuff anymore.
It's not for the faint-hearted, and it doesn't last.
No.
I don't know anybody that can still do it. It's hard.
Well, Ripper Owens, King Diamond, guys like that.
Ripper's something else.
yeah, that's another guy I would love to interview. I have yet to meet.
Yeah, I toured with him. He's a solid guy.
So now we've got a little bit of the history out of the way. Anything else you want to bring up before we move on to talking about spiritual sickness? Oh, yeah, actually, there is one other thing. What was it like trying to pretend to be Peter Steele?
Now, that was hard, man. Like, he gets, if you don't know anything outside of Type O Negative, like when they played in Carnivore, back at Lemoore, someone said, hey, do you want to go see Pete Steele's old thrash band, Carnivore? And I didn't know anything about him, and I was like, nah, I'm not really in the mood. And I'm kicking myself because I should have gone. Would have been the only time I could have ever seen Carnivore. And I blew it because I didn't know. And I didn't even know until I saw the ad on Craigslist for the bass player what Carnivore was. So, I called up a friend of mine who's a big Pete Steele fan, and I said, do you think I should do this? And she's like, yeah, Carnivore is awesome. So I reached out to the guy. Even before I heard this stuff, I reached out to him and set up an audition. And then I listened to Retaliation, and it is remarkable, the level of musicianship on the bass. It's mind-boggling how good he was as a bass player. And that was difficult. But when I was on stage playing the music, I never thought, I'm pretending to be Peter Steele or I'm trying to be him. It's just like I was serving the music, and it's like, how am I going to pay respect by doing it right and doing what he did? I never really thought about the pressure of, being him as much as like his sister's in the audience, man. I want to play this right. And it was hard. I think he must have heard Billy Sheehan at some point, because his distorted bass lines are very reminiscent of Billy. And I grew up on that stuff being very close to Buffalo. So it was already kind of in my DNA, like that sound and that style of playing distorted bass. It takes a little bit more attention because it's shrieking and out of control, and it's like taming a wild beast holding onto the bass when it's doing that. You can't, you can't just. You got to make sure you're muting all the strings in the right way. But it was really fun, and I'm really pissed off I'm not in Carnivore AD.
Well, you got spiritual sickness on that one, but I was the opposite. I was a Carnivore fan, and when Type O Negative came out, I was like, what? And I'd seen Carnivore,
right?
And it was like, what the hell is this? It's gothic, but I like Bauhaus, so it worked for me. It was just, I was expecting more Carnivore,
right?
And got like Danzig and Bauhaus had a baby.
Yeah. And the Beatles, like the Beatles.
The Beatles.
Type O is insane. It's like Type O gets kind of pigeonholed for one thing, and it's like the tongue-in-cheek humor and all the things about Type O. It's like, and I got to see them live. Man, you can't say enough good things about them. Just
I love their cover of Summer Breeze. I think that's a fantastic cover.
Yeah.
And everybody knows Black Number One. I'm so sick of that song.
Yeah.
It's a good song, but 13 minutes later, I'm ready to move on.
Yep.
Now, before we actually touch spiritual sickness, you worked with one superhero style band, KISS.
Yes.
Let's briefly, because I never got to interview you on this one, because I remember it was a conflict in scheduling. What was it like to play with Thor, a real-life madman on stage?
Yeah. Well, again, this is a band that unless you were in the New York City area or were a fan of the specific style of music, I didn't know who he was. None of my friends back home knew who he was. I got the gig, and everybody in New York City was like, "Oh, the guy that was on that midnight, video show." And I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about." But apparently in New York City in the 80s, there was like this video show that used to run the videos and played all the Thor stuff. And Thor, for people that don't know, he was a championship bodybuilder. And he put this band together, and they played stuff off the first album, Keeping the Dogs Away, I think it was called. It was very glam and kind of David Bowie-esque, very Iggy Pop. And as he progressed, he started listening to Venom, and his music throughout the 80s got more and more metal. And I was very happy to actually play the early glam stuff. I thought it was incredible. Very underrated and overlooked.
Yeah.
He didn't come out for any rehearsals. Like, we rehearsed the band for about 6 weeks, and he came out for like the day before. And, we had one rehearsal with him, had a meal with him, did the show, and that's as much as I talked to him or, got to hang out with him. But he was very nice. He's an older guy now. I think he's in his late 60s. And he still put on a great show, still sang all the songs great, had a great time doing it. But, it was a one-off thing for me. And it's like, unfortunately, I don't get to do it anymore.
Yeah, well, it was still a fun show from what I remember seeing of it. And, you can't really hate on a guy that in the 80s was bending steel bars and popping hot water bottles.
Exactly. No, he knows how to put on a good show. And again, the songs, especially off that debut album, the songs were fantastic. And I think they hold up to anything in that genre. And I feel like he somehow got overlooked. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, no, it's again, a lot of guys, they get pigeonholed. They think he's just a gimmick band because he does all the shock stuff and they don't listen to the music.
Yeah, no, I dug it. I had a really good time playing that music.
So we'll start with Spiritual Sickness, and then we'll end with the 6 Degrees.
All right. Well, the Spiritual Sickness, I'm very happy finally being back in a band doing vocals. For whatever reason, since October Thorns split up, I've been in a real dry spell for 15, 20 years of being a singer in a band, which I really enjoy doing and haven't had a chance to do. But I've been focusing on everything else, playing bass for Carnivore, playing guitar for Chris. It's when you're busy, you keep busy. You don't complain about not getting everything you want. You just do it.
Work is work.
Work is work, and you be thankful for what you get. So I really, really wanted to be in Ghost Ship, and I've known Van for years. We opened for Nevermore at Downtime, the same place that I saw Symphony X with Dave Z's band Legend. And we opened for them on the Dreamin' Neon Black tour. So I've known Van since then, and he's one of the great guys in music, very personable, very warm, so we've been going back and forth just online. Hey, how you doing? And I saw Ghost Ship needed a bass player, and man, I wanted it bad. I went after it as hard as I could, did a video audition for him, and it made him really happy. Like, he was really impressed and he dug it. But they ended up having Adon, who's the singer, switch from guitar to bass. And it's like, could this guy be any more talented? Like, just a fantastic vocalist going from, guitar and trying to sing over those bass lines. I'm like, oh, man. So, as much as I was disappointed with that, I got a call from Ed Mischke, I guess a year after that audition. And he said, hey, Van suggested you for my band. And I said, that's really good of Van. I really appreciate it. And heard the stuff. And I got the demo sent to me in August, and we've been just busting out all the pre-production here since then. It is really good stuff. It's really unique. Ed is heavily influenced by Nevermore, so there's a bit of the Nevermore vibe. It's a little more progressive. It's a little more tightly focused than some of the Nevermore stuff that had a very wide song structure. We're trying to keep it a little more palatable and verse, chorus, solo, so it's people can kind of get hooked in. But there's a couple sections that meander a bit, which is, I'm more of a prog metal guy than power. So it's definitely right up my alley, and I'm really excited to be doing it. I just wish it would move faster, because once you get your teeth into something, you want to run with it. And with the holidays and everything, it's difficult when everyone's a grown up with a full-time job. I got a 10-year-old. It's hard to be a musician at this stage of life because there's so many other things that distract and take up your time and energy. But
oh yeah,
we're working.
It's the killer of bands around the world is real life.
Yeah. But Ed's very well connected. He does a lot of networking. So we should be doing a tour this spring. We were supposed to go out in the fall. The actual gig for me, the phone call was, we're touring in November. And I got the call at the end of August. And he's like, can you do a tour? And I was like, hell yeah, I can do a tour. But once we got into it and got the ball rolling, it was like, it would be smarter if we did a brand new recording with me as the vocalist, rather than me going out there
doing somebody else's work,
filling in, and it's really good stuff. The vocals are very good, but if I'm going to be the vocalist, they wanted to make sure we went out with a new product, and we're like, boom, this is the new version of the band.
And actually, it makes a lot more sense. Now that you do the radio thing too, sometimes, you get a band and you play the old stuff and you're interviewing the new guy. It's kind of hard to immerse into the project.
Right.
So a fresh project, a new album, you get to make it your own.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what the thinking was. And Ed's really smart with the business side of things. So, when we do have the album done, we're going to have it packaged right. And, it's whatever the modern business side of things are. We have to be very careful that we don't waste our time doing things that aren't going to make us, any income or support the band on tour. Like, we have to kind of go over all the business side and make sure we're new,
And also, you have to admit, when working with people with a career already, people who are established and have a background, there's a lot less ego on what needs to be done.
Yes. Yeah, that's a brilliant part about being this age. I'm 53. I think the guys are all in that same ballpark within 2 or 3 years. And I used to be a miserable prick, so I think anybody from my old bands would be able to say, well, yeah, good luck working with that guy. But it's like, at this point, I'm like so tired. I don't put up a fight anymore. I don't really have strong opinions on a lot of things. I'm just like, whatever, man. I'll just, if you don't want me to play,
tell me where you want me and I'll be there.
Yeah, just put me in, coach. I don't care if it's left field. I just want to play baseball. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
I'm very much at that point in my life where the passion and the vision that you might have when you're 20, and that kind of resistance to any kind of outside, like I was a crusader at that point in my life. I was like, it has to be this way. It must be, up until my mid 30s. Like I was very immobile on some of these ideas about my music and how I wanted to present myself, and on and on and on. Where at this point, it's just like, you put me on stage and it's like, if everybody in the band doesn't want to do a certain thing, I don't care. It's okay. We can just like, whatever the least, whatever your weakest link in the chain is, that guy doesn't want to wear makeup. Okay. We don't wear makeup. Who cares?
I mean, come on.
I don't care.
Anybody that's ever been a singer, we all suffer from LSD at one point in our life.
Yep. I don't anymore.
Yeah. After about 45.
Yeah, you have to interview my bandmates to see if I've overcome LSD, but
you have my number. Point them my way.
I hope. Well, when the album gets done, I think you should definitely talk to Ed at some point too.
I would love to. I've been wanting to talk to him for years.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
I'm a huge fan, so.
Yeah, he's a tremendous player. He's one of these guys that he really puts the time in. He doesn't half-ass it. His guitar parts are rock solid. It's funny because he's been sending me all these demos, and he's like, let me know what you think, because I don't want to waste time on it if you don't like it. And I laugh at him because, like, I don't even have to open up the email before. Like, I listened, like, my kid was was with me the other day when I did it. I opened it up, I listened to the intro, I moved it to the middle of the song, I listened to the end. It was like 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. I typed back to him, I fucking love it. And my kid's like, that's very nice. I'm like, what am I going to do? This guy's a genius, man. I love what he does. Boom, I love it. I don't, send me more. Send me as much as you got. I'll put lyrics on it, and we're good to go.
Well, that answered my next question. Are you getting the chance to write the lyrics for the album?
Absolutely. Lyrics and the melodies. The only thing that we are really collaborating on in terms of the vocals is arrangements. If I want to put a verse here or cut this down here or there are very strong collaborations in terms of if I want to do something, the rest of the band's like, well, let's do it this way. Or, it's very much like putting a puzzle together with 4 people. So you've got all the pieces there, and it's like the guys are looking at the box because the song's been done for months or years. Like some of the demos he sent me were done years ago. So I look at the puzzle pieces and I'm like, well, what can I make out of this? And I start putting things, and they're looking at the box going, no, that's what it's supposed to look like over there. And I'm like, oh. So there's a little bit of that going back and forth on the old stuff. On the newer stuff, I have a little bit more latitude in terms of kind of cutting and pasting things together. But again, it's like there isn't a whole lot of stress with it because it's like, I don't care. Just tell me what you like and what you don't like. And there's no ego at all involved with any of us yet. It's 4 months into it, and we're all just kind of like, yeah, what do you think? What do you think? I don't care. Do it that way.
Well, ego aside, it's a creative process. Eventually, everybody has a disagreement, but it's how you handle it is what is more crucial than the disagreement together.
Exactly. Yeah, and that comes with experience and maturity.
Yeah. Hey, don't tell anybody we're getting old over here. The working in music's making us prematurely gray in our chin.
Yes. And I'm tired. I don't want to fight anymore.
Well, you got a 10-year-old son, man. I remember when you first started doing the book for him, and yeah, it's been a long road for you now. Yep. You're in my shoes where I was 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's been good, and I have no complaints. He's been really easy in so many ways, it's been fun.
To make you feel old, mine's going to be 21 in a week.
Oh my God. Oh, my heart. No. Too soon.
Elizabeth,
I'm coming.
It's the big one.
You got a case of the Zachary disease.
Yeah, we're really getting old now doing 70s sitcom jokes.
And Red Fox was blue, man. He did not work clean.
Nah, and I miss that, man. We need more guys like Red nowadays.
Yep. Yeah, he's good.
But, the spiritual sickness thing, getting back out on the road, I know the juggling act that's going to be.
Yeah.
Don't forget, I live in Pittsburgh now. Come on through town.
Right, that's not that far from New York.
Yeah, not too far at all. And
the tour
plans,
right now the tour plans are Europe first. I think we have the connections there, and after that, I don't have any idea what the plans are for the States yet, but I'm sure we're going to do something.
So when you do Europe, are you going to do any of the festivals?
I'm not sure yet. This is Ed's wheelhouse with all that. He's got the contacts. And I just interviewed Ira Black from Dark Sky Choir, and he's got some interesting ideas on how to DIY some of these festivals and tours. So I'm going to take a page from his book, do what we can. It might be too late at this point for festival submissions.
For 2020, but
yeah, for
always 2021.
Exactly. You got to start now.
Yeah.
So we'll see. That first European tour is going to be the one to kind of break open some doors, and we'll see where it goes from there.
I know you got to be excited. It's been a long time since you've had this kind of a role in a band.
Yes, I'm very excited and very impatient to get moving. I want to get rolling.
You've been in this business as long as I have. What's the old catchphrase? Hurry up and wait.
Hurry up and wait, yeah.
Exactly. Hell, that was sort of the description of starting this video today.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I'm excited for you. We've been friends for forever. And, It's been an interesting ride to this point for both of us, and
Yes.
it's good to see you getting back on stage. That's my goal eventually too.
Yep. How's your health? I know you've had a long road.
All right, I'm going to tell on myself for those that don't know. My back is decayed pretty bad. I'm virtually immobile now. I walk with a walker.
Nice.
The cane is gone. I now have a walker. The next couple of years, I'm doing this because I miss being on the mic, but radio, I need to make some money. I'm sorry. You've listened to my show for a long time. I'm not doing that for free anymore.
Right.
I'm just not. Not with my resume.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to do it for free, I'm going to do it for myself.
Yeah.
And but I couldn't be happier. If it weren't for my getting hurt in the first place 21 years ago, almost 22 now, good Lord. I wouldn't have done radio. I wouldn't have worked with Chubby Checker. I wouldn't have done the pizza thing with the Real Radio Show. I wouldn't have met guys like you. I'd have still been, plugging in amps, tuning guitars.
What did you do with Chubby?
2009, we filmed a TV pilot with the Real Radio Show. And we did a pizza cook-off on Long Island between Dexter Morgan from Chris Angel's Mind Freak and Chubby Checker.
That's great.
I actually, if I haven't ever shown you this, I'll send you a clip, folks. I'll put a link in the post because I don't like promoting the Real Radio Show because of how we broke up. But I have the greatest catch line for my resume thanks to Davy Jones of the Monkees.
Okay, let's hear it.
We're on camera interviewing when he finally looks at me and he says, the last time I saw something so hairy, I was being attacked.
That's awesome, and you need to you need to get a picture of Davey and put that underneath.
Yeah. Oh, it's the header of my resume.
That's very cool.
On my resume. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things. I met Elvira at that one. I got a hug from Linda Blair at that event. We did the Chiller convention in New Jersey.
Very cool.
And I almost face planted on Elvira, but that's a whole other thing. That was an accident.
You could have blamed it on your back. It's like,
actually, it was a better one. Not only was my back, when you're shooting, sometimes it takes a while, and if you're drinking a lot of water, you got to make that pit stop.
Right.
I spun on a heel and I stopped.
Right.
Hi. They're nice for my age, aren't they? Yes, ma'am. Excuse me.
And let's just get the visual here. You're about 5'7"?
5'11".
You're 5'11", and she's about 7 foot tall in those heels, so her boobs must have been right there.
I could smell the perfume she was wearing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great time. I got snubbed by Patrick Stewart. It was great.
Oh, he's not very pleasant from what I've heard.
Nah, because my buddy, bodyguard Drew, he was doing security for Stewart, and he was like, "Can my buddy come in and just shake your hand for a minute?" He's like, "He's got to pay $150 like everybody else, or I'm not getting out of this chair. Engage number one, go away." Mickey Rooney, on the other hand, was a sweetheart. But
awesome.
It's those are the fun stories. So I like talking to you and doing these things because we've both been in the trenches here, and to see you finally got your name back on an album, not as a support player, but the front man.
Yeah.
It's got to be great. You worked your whole life for this point, kind of.
Yeah, we're not there yet, but we're pushing towards it. And I'm also remixing the October Thorns demo CD with some hidden tracks. That's been in the works for like 4 or 5 years, and just haven't been able to get it done. This is the month for me to get that done too. So wish me luck. October.
You're finally doing it.
Finally.
Oh, wonderful.
Joe Fu, the drummer, sent me tracks for this where he tightened everything up, put some drum samples on to modernize the drum sound a little bit, did some vocal correction on some of the pitch problems we had on the demo, but all minor fixes, but it sounds great so far. I just haven't gotten it done. Right.
Well, before we do the separation thing as well, you do a lot of technical stuff. I know you have Stentor Productions.
Yep.
And if you want to give yourself a shout out here, promote yourself. If people want to inquire about rates and what you do,
definitely
give yourself a bit of a sales pitch.
I do a lot of post-production. I play just about every instrument you can imagine. I do film soundtracks, short commercials for radio and television, film scores. That's my Stentor Productions, sideline. I do lyric videos, regular videos too. I don't really have the capacity to do I don't have a camera yet, but if you have the footage, I can do the edits and special effects, After Effects, and all that. I have my own sound system, so I do live sound. I play acoustic guitar, so I do like that stuff. I got a DJ rig. I can do some DJing. Like I'm a jack of all trades, master of one.
Yeah. Yep.
And then I got the radio show, 6 Degrees of Separation with Paul Laplaca. 6 Degrees is the concept that everyone's familiar with through the Kevin Bacon game. I do it with music. Rudy Sarzo ripped me off. So if you ever talk to Rudy,
I have in the past, but not since he's been doing that. Yeah. Yeah, Rudy's a nice guy, but yeah, he did steal your name. You did it first.
I don't think he's ever heard of me. I met him once. Caffery introduced me to him. He's very cool. I laugh about it. I try to tweak him on Twitter with it, but he hasn't responded yet. But I didn't come up with the idea, so I'm teasing. And I know he's got a little bit more connections than I do. But I would love to go head to head with him and see if he could name someone he was connected to that I'm not. If I couldn't find my way to him 6 Degrees, I think that would make a great show.
You and I need to do that one of these days.
Yeah. Or we need to find him and get him to come on my show. Tuesday.
I've still got his email somewhere because I interviewed him in 2009.
Yeah. Hook me up because I would love to have him on my show and play a little 6 Degrees duel with him. Because I've surprised myself a couple times because my son will ask me, are you connected to AC/DC? Are you connected to this guy? And I've very quickly been like, yeah, within 3 steps I'm there, and I can do this guy. Like I don't think
I'll give you one of mine.
All right.
I'm less than 3 steps to George Clinton.
Really? That's very cool. Clinton.
P-Funk All-Stars.
I know. I'm just trying to think of. I teched for Vernon Reed and Doug Wimbish from Living Color. So that's my only, that's my immediate connection that Vernon must have done something or Doug must have done something either for P-Funk or for Clinton at some point. But that's my first connection,
I was a shared co-host with LAW, the guitar player of the P-Funk All-Stars on the Real Radio Show.
I never got to see P-Funk. I saw Bernie Worrell play solo New Year's Eve with Vernon when Vernon did his thing with Mask.
Oh, cool.
1999 maybe, down at the Cooler in New York City. So I've seen a bit of P-Funk, but I never got to see the full thing.
I can't tell my Vernon Reed story on camera.
All right,
but I'll tell you when we get off the air because it's one that not only would have torches in my front yard and some other things, but it's funny, but it's not a good one.
I have some stories from the bus with Vernon, and I had a really good time hanging out with Vernon.
Mine's from my Z-Toy days when I was crewing for them at the Cat Club.
Okay. All right, we'll talk about that some other time.
Oh, yeah. But, I think it's funny, too, that, I kind of mentored you slowly over at my old station over at purerockradio.net.
No, that's where I got my start in internet radio, was doing radio IDs for you. You were definitely a big inspiration. It's like, I would like to do this. Like I went to college for radio and television, but I never really thought that I could pull it off, and as internet radio started becoming easier, and it's not that fucking easy because
I make it look easy.
Yeah. It ain't that easy. But, you definitely, you got me going on this. And now I'm very happily back to doing every Tuesday, purerockradio.net.
8 p.m. Eastern?
8 p.m. Eastern. Yep.
That's right. Because, one of my favorite things when I made the return 5 years ago was Johnny.
Yes.
Johnny and Fluffy and Mom. And yeah.
I love that character, and I have writer's block coming up with ideas. Like in the 10 years since I introduced the character on your show was the first Johnny. Man, it's hard to write for that voice, trying to find things. And the one I did with Doro, I mean, not to pat myself in the back, I think it's brilliant. And,
oh yeah, that was fantastic. I spit coffee on my monitor on that one.
I can't, I'm too embarrassed to play it for her because I don't want her to think like I did it without respect. It's like I think it's very funny, but I don't know what she would think. I don't think anybody.
She'd probably laugh because when I interviewed her, she's done my show like 4 times now when I was doing radio. So I think she'd laugh because I was doing some body stuff off the air with her, but I lived in Dusseldorf for 6 years. So
yeah,
you know,
I like Dusseldorf.
yeah, I lived there for 6 years when I was a kid, and it's one of the greatest things I ever had to do.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, I like Doro quite a bit. She's the real deal. She's very genuine, and she gives 100% to her fans when she shouldn't. She goes above and beyond in so many ways. Like after she's done playing, she should be resting, and she should get to sleep. And she talks to.
She's out in the crowd, talks to every person, even if it's only 5 minutes. She makes sure you get your 5 minutes.
Yeah, she means it when she says, like you're all my family. She really has dedicated her life to her music and her fans, and that's, she's the real thing. I'm very, very happy I got to tour with her.
She said it back in '86. All we are.
Yes.
All we are is all we are.
Yeah.
And
No,
she's one of the really sweethearts. She's really a sweetheart.
Yep. And she's a great singer too.
Oh yeah.
On top of being nice, she's really good.
And she still looks the same. So I mean, come on. How that good German beer or something.
Yep.
She's amazing. But what are your upcoming events here on the 6 Degree show?
6 Degrees, my guests coming up. I was supposed to have Mike Lapon tomorrow, and just having no luck getting him on the air. So tomorrow it's going to be just me. Trying to think about my next couple of guests who they're going to be. That's a good question. I should have been ready for that. Let me check my calendar.
You've known me for almost 20 years, we'll say. Let's round it up to the right number.
I should know you're going to ask me these questions, right? So Simone Milroni is coming up on the 14th, and Simone is a guitar player for Italian progressive band DGM. He is brilliant, a great producer and engineer as well, so we're going to talk to him. And I'm going to dig his brain a little bit about the Jeff Tate collaboration he had and some of the nightmares he had working with the album he did with just did the vocals on. And then on the 21st, I'll be talking to Brendan Kelly from a band called Royal Orphan, which is this really cool band from Long Island, and it kind of blends kind of Rush level prog with some of the more current kind of Coheed and Cambria style stuff. The guy's got a really clean tenor voice, and he's more of a metalhead. Like if you talk to him about the bands he listens to, it's Venom and Slayer and Iron Maiden and that kind of stuff. But the music is really complicated. It's really textural. And he asked me to play bass for his band opening for Ross the Boss on the 25th. We're going to be opening for
That'll be cool.
I've got Mark Briotti on the 28th from Jag Panzer, and I'm trying to get the guitar player from an Australian band called Voyager, but of course they're on fire, so
Yeah, Mark. I've got Mark on Facebook. I've been debating whether or not to approach him because I love Jag Panzer. So
yeah, Mark's fantastic. He's another one. Like I have a tendency to be in contact with the guys that are really approachable and really nice people. Those are the people that I end up having in my professional orbit, and not so much, the other guys. I don't know if it's like I just don't attract that energy, I hope. but I'm very lucky in terms of, if you look through my Rolodex of people that I know and have some contact with, I can honestly say, oh, that guy's the greatest. Oh, she's the nicest. Like, it's just, I'm very happy with my experiences. The people I know in the business tend to be the best. And I'm very happy.
Well, it's like we've both said on our shows, I'm sure at some point or other, once it gets under your skin, it's people like that keep it there. And, every once in a while you have that, am I just being silly and getting too old for this?
Yeah.
And then 6 months go by and you're like, oh,
you
got to do this again.
Yeah. Yep. I feel the same way. All right.
Where this goes or not.
Yeah.
I got to let you get going, brother.
Let's call it a night on this, but it's always a pleasure talking to you. Can't wait to see you again, and I hope we get out your way very soon.
Yeah, either way, or I'll come up and see you, man. And folks, we'll be back in just a little while, maybe another week from now. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll be back soon with another interview on the Vault of Metal.
Okay, before we let you go, I want my co-host and you to sing Daydream Believer. Daydream, come on, the monkey song. Don't worry about it. You follow him, okay? All right, you guys.
I could hide beneath the wings of a bluebird as she sings. Take it.
Daydream, come on.
It's got to be somewhere in there.
I have no idea. I don't know the song.
He's actually moving. He's actually moving his mouth. You just can't see it.
I'm like a puppet here.
The last time I saw anything so hairy, I was attacked.
After 5 long years, witness the return of the Vault with your host, Raven, and some dude I've never heard of before, trying to get me to follow him on Twitter or some shit. I don't give a fuck, so whatever. But we're taking back the metal on the Vault of Metal.
What the hell are you doing in here? Knock it off. It sounds like you're raping Cookie Monster or something.
Get
What the hell
out.
is that damn stuffed toy anyway? I thought we got rid of it after the last time.
Mom, get out of here. I'm working on something. It's not Sesame Street. It's metal. It's metal.
Oi, my God, stop it already. You're giving me agita. I just ate my gefilte fish.
Ma, you're mixing stereotypes again.
So big whoop. I'm Jewish. Your father's Italian. I'm Italian by injection. Beef injection. Ha!
Ma, stop.
All right. So sensitive.
Get out. I have to finish the station ID for Raven the Devil in the Vault of Metal.
Oi, he's terrible. Everything he plays sounds like Mrs. Shebowitz's dog's barking.
Don't say that. It's my favorite show. And if I don't finish this by tonight, they say they're going to kill Fluffy.
Not Fluffy.
Yes, Fluffy.
Oh, our poor goldfish.
Now, will you please leave me alone so I can finish my promo for Raven the Devil on the Vault of Metal?
You just did.
Did what? Would you shut that cat up? What did I do?
Your little porno thingy for DJ Raven and the Vault of Meta. Ooh, I just did it too. Can you put me on the radio?
Ma, get out!
Don't shut up, you stupid cat.
The Vault of Metal returns.